be able to see lección 2 here?
Sí.
Ok, muy bien, vamos a comenzar. Hoy vamos a repasar el vocabulario de la ciudad y el campo. Vamos a empezar a aprender los verbos irregulares, los objetos indirectos, los adverbios. Vamos a conversar de la televisión y vamos a aprender vocabulario de la ropa. ¿Cómo se dice city?
No recuerdo.
La ciudad.
La ciudad.
¿Cómo se dice town?
No, pueblo.
Pueblo, muy bien.
Pueblo.
¿Y countryside?
No recuerdo. I didn't do the homework.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna be rough.
El campo.
Campo.
¿Cómo se dice apartment?
Apartamento.
¿Cómo se dice house?
Casa.
Condo?
No recuerdo.
El condominio.
El condominio.
¿Cómo se dice mountain?
Las montañas.
In Spanish, it's typically going to be in the singular form too.
La montaña. Okay.
¿Cómo se dice river?
This one's obvious, but I don't no recuerdo.
El río.
El río.
¿Cómo se dice valley?
No recuerdo.
El valle.
El valle.
¿Cómo se dice street?
Calle.
La calle.
La calle.
Avenue?
No recuerdo.
La avenida.
La avenida.
¿Cómo se dice highway?
No recuerdo.
La autopista.
¿Qué?
¿Cómo se dice train station?
Estación de treno.
La estación de tren, just train.
Estación de tren.
Airport?
El aeropuerto.
Port.
Porto. El puerto.
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 ¿Cómo se dice theater?
Teatro.
Muy bien. El teatro.
El teatro.
¿Y cómo se dice movie theater?
La cinema.
It's masculine, so it's el cine.
El cine. Okay.
¿Cómo se dice auditorium?
No recuerdo.
El auditorio.
El auditorio.
¿Cómo se dice university?
Universidad.
¿Cómo se dice school?
La escuela.
También se dice el colegio.
Colegio.
Sounds like college, but it's really referring to more like primary school. ¿Cómo se dice gas station?
No recuerdo. Something about petrol. Oh, gasolinera.
La gasolinera. Okay, traduce las siguientes oraciones. What does this mean in English? Mi carro es rojo, tu carro es negro.
My car is red, your car is black.
Nuestro vecino es muy divertido.
Our neighbor is very fun.
Very fun or a lot of fun. Su casa es muy bonita.
Your house is very nice, pretty.
Yeah, this one could be your house or his house or her house. And technically it could also be their house because Sue can kind of mean a bunch of different things depending on the context. Mis amigos están contentos, sus hijos son muy inteligentes.
My friends are happy. Your kids are very intelligent.
Mhm. So again, here, sus,
Sus.
depending on the context,
There.
it's going to be referring to their children, yeah, in this particular situation.
Okay.
Mis hermanos están en Uruguay.
My brothers are in Uruguay.
Yeah, brothers. Hermanos could also be understood as siblings. Su esposo es ingeniero.
His or her spouse is an engineer.
Yeah, in this situation, it's probably her husband is an engineer without more context.
Okay.
Nuestras casas están sucias.
Our houses are dirty.
Tu motocicleta es increíble.
Your motorcycle is incredible.
Muy bien. Tiffany, in this level, one of the primary focuses is learning irregular verbs. They're called irregular, as we saw in the last level with ser, estar, and tener, because they don't follow the regular verb pattern. There's about 20 of them that are used very frequently. So they're irregular because they don't follow the pattern, not because they're not used very commonly. They're actually used incredibly commonly. So you just have to kind of study these independently and take the time to memorize them. Today, I think we're starting with what's called a first person irregular verb, because it's only irregular in the first person. After that, it does follow the regular verb pattern of an AR, ER, or IR verb. For example, the verb dar means to give. In the first person, you say yo doy. After that, it's treated like an AR verb. Tú das, él da, nosotros damos, ellos dan. Okay. Here's a list of some pretty common ones. Saber, that means to know. Conocer also means to know. Saber is to know like a piece of information, whereas conocer is to know a person or a place, yeah. Dar means to give. Ver means to see. Hacer means to do or to make. Salir is to leave. Poner, to put or to place. Valer means to be worth. Traer is to bring, and then caer is to fall. So
what about to go?
To go is ir, and that's also irregular. It's completely irregular.
Yeah, okay.
So it doesn't fall into this category. The ones that are here only change in the yo form.
Do they all follow the same?
They do not follow the same pattern. No.
Okay.
So like we can see on the left here, what we just saw was dar, which is yo doy. Now we have saber, yo sé, conducir, yo conduzco. So they really do have to be pretty much treated almost all independently.
Interesting, okay. Saber.
So repeat after me. Yo sé.
Yo sé.
Tú sabes.
Tú sabes.
Él sabe.
Él sabe.
Ella sabe.
Ella sabe.
Usted sabe.
Usted sabe.
Nosotros sabemos.
Nosotros sabemos.
Ellos saben.
Ellos saben.
Ellas saben.
Ellos saben.
Ustedes saben.
Ustedes saben.
Conocer.
Un momento, por favor. Otro papel. Ok, conocer.
Yo conozco.
Yo conozco.
Tú conoces.
Tú conoces.
Él conoce.
Él conoce.
Ella conoce.
Ella conoce.
Usted conoce.
Usted conoce.
Nosotros conocemos.
Nosotros conocemos.
Ellos conocen.
Ellos conocen.
Ustedes conocen.
Ustedes conocen.
Dar.
Dar.
Yo doy.
Yo doy.
Tú das.
Tú das.
Él da.
Él da.
Ella da.
Ella da.
Usted da.
Usted da.
Nosotros damos.
Nosotros damos.
Ellos dan.
Ellos dan.
Ellas dan.
Ellas dan.
Ustedes dan.
Ustedes dan.
Ver.
Ver.
And at first glance, it looks like it might be irregular, but because you're not replacing the ER, you're actually leaving the E there. It actually is irregular just because of that tiny little thing. So it's yo
Okay.
veo,
Yo veo.
tú ves,
Tú ves.
él ve,
Él ve.
ella ve,
Ella ve.
usted ve,
Usted ve.
nosotros vemos,
Nosotros vemos.
ellos ven,
Ellos ven.
ellos ven,
Ellas ven.
ustedes ven.
Ustedes ven.
Hacer.
Hacer. Yo hago.
Yo hago. Mhm.
Yo hago.
And the most important thing just is to remember the H is silent on this one.
Hago.
Tú
Okay.
haces,
Hago. Tú haces.
él hace,
Él hace.
nosotros hacemos,
Nosotros hacemos.
ellos hacen.
Ellos hacen.
Salir follows a similar pattern to hacer. Yo salgo,
Yo salgo.
tú sales,
Tú sales.
él sale,
Él sale.
nosotros salimos,
Nosotros salimos.
ellos salen.
Ellos salen. Yeah, it's weird that it goes I-E mostly and then I-M-O-S for nosotros.
Well, it is an IR verb, so that's why
Oh,
it's just following the IR conjugation pattern there.
okay. Salgo. Sale. Sale. Okay.
Poner works the same way. Yo pongo,
Yo pongo.
tú pones,
Tú pones.
él pone,
Él pone.
nosotros ponemos,
Nosotros ponemos.
ellos ponen.
Ellos ponen.
Valer,
Valer. Be worth. Can you use valer in a sentence?
it's typically used in the third person. For example, la clase de español vale $70 la hora. The
Oh.
Spanish class is worth $70 an hour.
Okay.
And it'll also, vale is also a common expression in Spain, is like a term of recognition or understanding or approval. The way I say dale in South America, we say dale, and in Spain they say
Dale. Yeah, I've heard that. Like sort of a filler word.
Mm-hmm. And then in Mexico they'd say andale. But
Okay.
yeah. So yo valgo, not very commonly used.
Okay. Yo valgo.
I use it when I've got students that are trying to hassle me on the price of my classes. I'm like, well, yo valgo, I'm worth it.
Yeah. Okay. So if you were to break up with a boyfriend, you could say yo valgo.
Could say, yeah.
You might be worth the price. If you were a hooker. Okay.
Yeah. Tú vales,
Tú vales.
él vale,
Él vale.
nosotros valemos,
Nosotros valemos.
ellos valen.
Ellos valen.
Traer,
Traer. Like bring something with you. To
mhm.
bring. This is a new one for me. Traer. Okay. Yo traigo.
Tú traes,
Tú traes.
él trae,
Él trae.
nosotros traemos,
Nosotros traemos.
ellos traen.
Ellos traen.
Caer means to fall.
Yes, I've heard of this. Caer. To fall. Caigo. Caigo or caigo?
Yo caigo,
Yo caigo. Tú caes.
tú caes, él cae,
Él cae.
nosotros caemos,
Nosotros caemos.
ellos caen.
Ellos caen. To fall, like not fall in love, but fall downstairs.
Like to fall, yeah.
Okay.
To fall down, yep. Tiffany, ¿sabes bien la matemática?
Sí, salgo la matemática.
All right, so that's irregular in the first person. Yo sé.
Oh, crap, I did salir. Yo sé. Sí, yo sé. Bien, la matemática.
¿Conoces Argentina?
No conozco Argentina.
Muy bien. And just real quick for kind of clarification in terms of what this means. So like people typically teach conocer is to know a person or a place. In this situation, it's not a very direct translation. In English, we would say, have you been to Argentina?
That's how I took it.
And in Spanish, you say, yeah, you don't use the present.
You know.
Yeah. You would typically use conocer in the present tense like this.
Okay.
Muy bien. ¿Das regalos caros por la Navidad?
Sí, doy regalos caros por la Navidad.
¿Ves la televisión todos los días?
No veo la televisión todos los días.
¿Haces mucha tarea? Mucha tarea.
No algo.
No hago.
No hago mucha tarea.
Mala. ¿A qué hora sales de tu casa?
Salgo desde la 9.
What?
Salgo. Around.
Alrededor.
Alrededor. Is there another way to say that?
Alrededor, or you could also say por. Salgo por las 9.
Salgo por la 9.
¿Dónde pones tus llaves cuando llegas a casa?
Pongo mis llaves a la mesa.
En la mesa.
En la mesa.
¿Qué traes a la clase de español hoy?
No recuerdo. Trago.
Traigo.
Traigo. ¿Qué traigo a la clase de español? Sorry, trago was to bring. Traigo mi papel.
Muy bien. ¿Te caes en la escalera de la casa mucho?
No caigo en la escalera. Caigo. No caigo mucho.
¿Vale la pena estudiar español?
Sí, valgo.
Vale. It's third person, so you just say, sí, vale la pena.
Sí, vale.
Yeah, this would be like kind of the most common use of this verb, too, by the way. Vale la pena is like saying, is it worth it?
Sí, vale.
All right, now for some fun stuff. This is where we start getting into some kind of grammatical structures with the language.
Okay.
We're going to be working with direct objects and indirect objects going forward. And just to kind of clarify, they're not 100% required in every sentence. Like to have a full complete sentence, you need a subject and a verb, right? The verb is the action and the subject does the action. But as we continue to start speaking with more detail, you'll start adding what's called an object, which is more, just essentially more content. And to start with the direct object, this is what's going to directly receive the action of the verb. So the subject does the action, the direct object directly receives the action. So in this sentence here, we see, I write a letter to you. If you have any question about what there's some gray area, certainly when this gets kind of confusing with certain verbs, but this is a pretty clear example. You can ask the question, what plus the verb. What are you writing? I'm writing a letter. That's the direct object. So the letter is what's being produced by the action of writing, if that makes sense. Now, the indirect object is a person, place, or thing that would typically perhaps receive the direct object or what's being written. So in this sentence, we see you are the indirect object because you're receiving the letter that I'm writing. In other words, you're kind of indirectly receiving the action of the verb.
Okay.
The indirect object usually says to whom or for whom an action is being performed. So you would ask the question here, instead of saying, what are you writing? You say, to whom are you writing it for, or for whom is it? And you get your indirect object in this situation. I write a letter to you. Of course, we've got to understand, as with most aspects of Spanish and English, the order, the sentence structure, the order of the sentence is typically backwards from English. So we put the indirect object after the verb, and in Spanish, it would typically come before the verb. So tú me escribes una carta is like saying you write me a letter. So just notice how the verb is here, but in Spanish, the indirect object is before the verb. In English, it's after the verb. Yo te escribo una carta, same thing. So indirect objects are not always used. They're typically only going to be used if there's some sort of an exchange of information or direct, like tangible objects going from one person to another one. These are some common verbs that may or may not be used with an indirect object. Dar, for obvious reasons. Yo te doy dinero, I give you money. We're directly showing an exchange of something tangible. Escribir, tú me escribes correo electrónico, you write me email. Traer, for example, camarero, usted me puede traer otra botella de vino.
Camarero is like the waiter.
Could be a server, yeah.
Male is a female camarera.
Camarera.
Camarera. Host or no, it's server.
Host is anfitrión o anfitriona.
Okay, I don't know that word. Okay, server. Okay.
Comprar, por ejemplo, mis padres me compran buenos regalos.
Okay.
Hablar, por ejemplo, yo te hablo en español en la clase. Last one, mandar. Mis alumnos me mandan correo electrónico.
Mandar is to, not to give, but to, what is it? ¿Qué significa mandar?
To send.
Send, mandar. To give. Okay, to send.
All right. So just to kind of get comfortable with these, let's follow this three-step process here. So for number one, identify the verb in the sentence, identify the subject, and then identify the indirect object.
Indirect object. Okay. Verb is doy.
Muy bien.
Dar.
Yep.
The first person. Subject.
Muy bien.
Is yo.
Uh-huh.
Identify the indirect as te.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Right. Same thing for number two.
Escribir, escribes. Número uno. Número dos. Tú. Número tres. Me.
Muy bien.
Okay. Número uno. Traer.
Yeah, this one's a little bit more complex. There's actually two verbs being used. So we have poder, traer. So puede is the verb that's conjugated.
Okay. Okay. Puede traer. Okay. Subject, camarero, indirect.
The subject is actually usted.
Usted. Okay. And me is the indirect.
Yep.
Cuatro. Comprar, compran. Número dos. Subject. Mis padres. Indirect me. Okay. Número cinco. Hablar, hablo.
Hablo is the verb, good.
Oh, I just realized they're all on the left. I didn't even notice the cheat.
But that's good. I want you to give me, I want the
Subject.
Conjugated verb because that helps you. The conjugated verb then helps you identify the subject.
Okay, subject yo, indirect te.
Exacto. Because there's an area where it's kind of confusing, you know, people get the subject and the indirect. This is very grammatical, so it's just good to kind of dive in deep here.
Okay. Verb mandan, mandar. Subject mis alumnos. Indirect me.
Good. All right. So now we have to understand that the indirect object would be the person. Typically, it's a person that's going to receive something. And in certain situations, you're going to have what's called the indirect object, as well as the indirect object pronouns. So the pronoun is what's going to replace like a person's name or something like that. If we start with just the first one, which is may is a pronoun that can translate to me, to me, or for me. It kind of means all three of those things, depending on the context of what's being said. Tú me das dinero. You give me money. Tú me hablas. You talk to me. Tú me escribes una carta. You write a letter for me. Okay. This is an example of one where you're very rarely going to actually mention the indirect object. You're almost always going to use the pronoun here, which is may. Te is also the same one, just because it can't be anything else. So te can mean you. For example, yo te doy dinero. To you, yo te hablo. Or for you, yo te escribo una carta. You're on mute if you're trying to talk to me.
Oh, I'm nodding.
Okay. All right, so let's just start off smoothly here. Translate these into English for me.
Yo te doy la tarea de español. I give you homework for Spanish.
Yep. Oh, okay.
Oh, número 2. Tú me escribes en español. You write to me in Spanish. Tú me escribes. Yeah. Él te trae la comida pronto. Él te trae. He gives me food quickly.
He brings. So what's the indirect object here?
Hey, you. He brings you.
He brings you the food
Quickly.
quickly.
Okay. Nosotros te compramos los víveres.
In pronto, sorry, pronto is more like saying soon.
Soon. Pronto. In Italian, pronto is how you answer the phone. It's like hello.
Really?
Pronto. Mm-hmm. Nosotros te compramos.
And what does that mean? Does it mean soon like it does here? No?
No, it's more of like a hello. I don't know.
Interesting.
Okay. We bring you like groceries every day.
We
Even
buy
if
you. So
we buy
comprar
you.
is to buy.
Sí, sorry. We buy you groceries every day. Ellos me hablan demasiado rápido. ¿Qué significa demasiado?
Too fast.
They speak to me too quickly.
Good.
Cuando ustedes me mandan los productos, when are you guys going to give me the products?
When are you going to send me?
Send me the products.
When do you send me? We would kind of say it more like, when will you send me? Yeah.
Te ayudo con la tarea esta noche. I will help you with your homework tonight. Me cocinas el bistec esta noche. Will you cook me a steak tonight? Sí. ¿Cuándo te paga tu patrón? When do you pay your boss? When does your boss pay you?
There you go. Yeah.
Can you tell me this one though? Because this one's not clicking. When does your boss pay you? Okay, because pay. So
yeah, here it's just the subject is reversed. So tu patrón is the subject. So we would say, when does your boss pay you?
Okay, when does your boss pay you? Los colegas me informan que no hay trabajo el viernes. Los colegas. My colleagues tell me that we don't have work Thursday.
And viernes is Friday.
Friday. Te deseamos un buen viaje. I wish you a good vacation.
So who's the subject here? Deseamos.
Oh, us.
We
We wish you.
Good.
a good vacation. Ni imprimen los informes cada mañana. ¿Qué significa imprimir?
To print.
To print. I will print the forms cada
So
mañana.
who's the subject here? Imprimen.
Oh, you all. You guys. Ustedes. I'll print you. You will print me. The forms tomorrow.
Yeah. So it could be understand as ustedes, you all print me the reports every morning. It could also be they. We don't know. They haven't given us the right context here, so it could either be they print me or you print me the forms every morning, the reports.
The reports. Informes is reports.
Informe, yeah, it's like information. Informe, a report.
Okay.
Muy bien. Let's talk about adverbs a little bit. First, mente alone means mind. It's your brain, right? La mente is the mind. However, it will also show up more commonly on the end of an adjective, and it turns it into an adverb. So,
question. We haven't done future tense yet, right?
no, I don't think so. I think we do that towards the end of this level, if I'm not mistaken.
Mente.
Yeah, so here's another area where these tend to kind of work the same way in English and in Spanish. We end these with ly, and in Spanish, they end it with mente. So a lot of words that we end with the ly are going to end with mente in Spanish. So fácilmente means easily. Yo frío huevos fácilmente.
And frío here is used as fry?
I fry eggs easily, yep.
Okay.
So, what is an adverb? It's a descriptive word like an adjective. Adjectives describe nouns. Adverbs describe verbs or actions. So typically they just answer the question how something is done.
Okay.
So on the right, we've got some really common ones. Fácilmente means easily, and that one's kind of an odd one to start with because it's not a cognate. Most of these typically are cognates, like they're easy to recognize. Usualmente, usually. Constantemente, constantly. Completamente, completely. Definitivamente is definitely. Frecuentemente, frequently. Esporádicamente is sporadically. Desafortunadamente means unfortunately.
How many syllables is that word? It's a lot.
A lot, yeah. I'll give you a gold star if you can say that right. And then the last one is actualmente, which is a false cognate. People think it means actually, but it means currently.
Currently, actualmente. Okay.
Bien, Tiffany, a veces dices mentiras blancas.
Mentiras, white lies. At times, do you say white lies?
Yep.
Constantemente.
¿Verdad?
Es verdad.
¿Eliges tu ropa fácilmente?
¿Qué significa eliges?
Do you choose? Do you choose or do you pick out your clothes easily?
Usualmente.
¿Fríes huevos frecuentemente?
Definitivamente.
¿Tu mejor amigo ríe constantemente?
Ríe. ¿Qué significa ríe?
To laugh. Does your best friend laugh constantly?
What's the... Okay. Ríe, frecuentemente.
¿Ríe frecuentemente?
Sí, ríe frecuentemente.
Ríe. Muy bien. ¿Sirves para alguna organización sin fines de lucro?
¿Qué significa en inglés?
I'm sorry?
Puede dire en inglés. Dice en inglés.
Which word? I didn't understand. I didn't catch.
Number 5. Can you say it in English?
Oh, the whole sentence?
Sí.
I see. So do you serve for a nonprofit organization?
Sin fines de lucro? What does that mean?
That's nonprofit.
Fines de lucro. Like, okay, doesn't make money. Sí, actualmente.
¿Cómo viste tu esposo?
How do I see my spouse?
How does he dress?
Oh, como viste. Viste is dress.
That comes from the verb vestir.
Vestir, okay. Él viste fácilmente.
¿Cuándo practicas español?
Practico español esporádicamente.
¿Tienes que trabajar muy temprano?
Temprano, temporary.
Early. Temprano means early.
Sí, desafortunadamente.
Está bien.
Never
Vamos.
gonna say that in a real setting. Never.
Desafortunadamente, you probably will say that more.
Oh my good Lord. I'll sound like a fool.
Think about all the times you have to say unfortunately. I mean it.
Desafortunadamente. Unfortunate that I have to say that word, but okay.
¿Te gusta la televisión estadounidense?
Am I trying to use the adverbs?
No, you don't have to here. I mean, it's, you know, the adverbs, it's just, again, we're going into almost intermediate level, so we want to develop the ability to talk with more detail, but you don't have to use the adverbs every time you answer a question. However, it does help provide a little more detail.
Sí, frecuentemente me gusta la televisión estadounidense.
¿Cuál es tu programa favorito?
Desafortunadamente, mi programa favorito es The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Oh my God.
I know, that's why I said unfortunately. I knew it was coming.
¿Cuál es el peor programa de televisión?
The worst? El peor programa es Fox News.
Sí. Bueno, eso sería el canal. El peor.
El canal, no es la programa. Ok.
Sí, estoy de acuerdo.
No sé la programas en Fox News.
Hannity. Oh my God.
Hannity. Sean Hannity, sí. Ok.
Él es el peor.
Podrías.
¿Cuántas horas por semana ves televisión?
No veo mucho televisión. A veces por la semana, 2 horas.
¿Podrías vivir un mes sin ver televisión?
Sí, podro.
Podría.
But if I wanted to conjugate that for me?
Yep, podría.
Oh, it's still podría?
Yeah, this is called the conditional tense. It's a little bit
Would
more
you?
advanced.
Would you?
Could you?
Podrías.
Yeah.
Could you? Sí, podría vivir un mes sin ver televisión. I don't have to conjugate ver.
No.
Okay.
¿Te gusta ver
Es posible.
Sí. ¿Te gusta ver la televisión española?
No me gusta. However, ¿cómo se dice however, ma?
Sin embargo.
Sin embargo. Oh my Lord. No me gusta. Sin embargo, me gusta escuchar el podcast en español.
Muy bien. ¿Y cuáles programas en español son buenos?
No sé. Dime.
Bueno, yo sugiero que veas programas en español que te llaman la atención, como Narcos, telenovelas, deportes o las noticias. So it kind of depends on what you're into, right?
Las noticias is the news, correct?
Yeah. So if you like watching the news, then you could try watching the news in Spanish. If you like watching sports, then watch sports in Spanish.
Okay.
Telenovelas are like soap operas. I don't care for them at all, but if you're into that kind of thing, you...
Mi amiga es de Colombia. Ella se llama Los Telenovelas.
Ella ama a los...
Ella ama.
O mejor dicho, le encantan las telenovelas.
Le encantan. Okay.
encantan las telenovelas. See, they're wildly popular in Spanish-speaking countries, but yeah, I don't know. My favorite programs in Spanish to watch are shows like Narcos that are, I don't know, it's pretty entertaining.
Isn't it in English though?
Narcos is kind of a mixture.
Yeah, they use a little bit of both.
Kind of half and half. Yeah, I mean, it's got
the Pablo Escobar one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I watched, I think, season 1.
So like most of the characters speak Spanish throughout it, but then like they have American DE agents that are speaking English. So we're getting into a level where it's kind of good to start dabbling in kind of Spanish movies and Spanish television.
I know, it's just I don't really watch that much TV, so podcasts are easy because I listen to podcasts while I work.
Cool. If that works for you, then that works.
So, we need to do. ¿Cómo se dice we need to do en español?
Necesitamos hacer.
Necesitamos hacer número 8.
No, I told you that one.
Ah, sí, okay. ¿Qué significa sugiero?
Sugiero means I suggest.
I suggest sugiero. Oh, Narcos.
I suggest that you watch programs in Spanish that call your attention.
Okay.
Like Narcos, telenovelas.
Okay.
Muy bien. Estar como pez en agua. Can you read this to me?
En español, sí. Andrea es chilena, pero está viviendo en Italia. Ella pensó que extrañaría. ¿Una otra vez?
Extrañaría.
Extrañaría mucho su país, pero a las pocas semanas estaba encantada con todo, la gente, el idioma, las costumbres y la comida. Esta es una pregunta. Ella está completamente cómoda.
Sí, ella está completamente cómoda. Ella está como pez en el agua. So we have the opposite of this. We use the
fish
phrase
out of water.
To feel like a fish out of water. In Spanish, they use it the opposite way. To feel like a fish in water is when you're really comfortable.
Qué chido.
Muy bien. Aquí tenemos una broma. Tiffany, ¿cómo sabes que un gallego ha usado la computadora antes que tú?
¿Cómo sabe que un gallego ha usado? How do you tell a chicken how to use a computer like you?
A chicken? No.
What's
chicken.
a gallego?
Gallego. Gallego is a person from, there's a region in Spain.
How do you tell a person from this region in Spain how to use a computer like you?
How do you know? How do you know if a Gallego has used the computer before you?
This is a joke.
This is a joke.
Tú encuentras la pantalla manchada de corrector. You encounter a white magic, or what's this? White.
You find the pantalla is the screen.
Paint? Oh, the screen.
Covered in whiteout.
Okay.
So.
Are these people old that live in this area?
No, they're, you know how we have in this country like blonde humor, like
yes,
we make jokes about blonde people for not being very smart. So Spanish has the same style of humor, but it's about these people from this region in Spain that are historically not.
To Mexico?
I'm sorry?
Does this kind of a joke translate to Mexico?
Yeah. It's used all over Spanish-speaking, over the Spanish-speaking world. So yeah, it's not just exclusive to Spain. It's used the exact, like almost all of the jokes you've heard about blonde people, like the same jokes exist about Gallegos in Spanish. So how do you know that a Gallego has used the computer before you? The screen's covered in whiteout. Aquí tenemos otro.
Okay.
De cuando Abelardo regresó de Las Vegas. Can you read this to me?
Yeah, but the sentence, when somebody comes back from Vegas,
Abelardo, that's the name of this person.
Oh, when do you know that he's come back from Vegas?
When he came back from Las Vegas.
Oh. Su amigo Nicholas le preguntó cómo le fue. Fenomenal, contestó Abelardo. Hay unas máquinas tragamonedas sensacionales. Le eché una moneda y gané. Después le eché otra y volví a ganar. Finalmente, tuve que desistir pues ya no supe qué hacer con tantas Coca-Colas. Ha, 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 hey, 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 hey.
So,
No, I got like half of this.
when Abelardo got back from Vegas, his friend Nicolas asked him how it went.
See?
Phenomenal. There's some slot machines. Máquinas tragamonedas would be a slot machine. He says there's some sensational slot machines. I put in a coin and I won. I put in another coin and I won again. I had to quit playing because I didn't know what to do with all the Coca-Colas.
Uh-huh.
So he was playing not a slot machine, but a vending machine. Muy bien. Vocabulario nuevo, which we've actually, I think, seen most of this. La bufanda.
La bufanda. That's new.
That's a scarf.
Bufanda.
El traje.
El traje.
So that's a suit. Las sandalias.
Las sandalias.
Las zapatillas, tennis shoes specifically.
Zapatillas.
Los guantes.
Los guantes.
El abrigo.
¿Qué significa el abrigo? Is it just a coat?
A coat.
Or a specific kind?
A coat.
Just a coat. El abrigo.
La gorra.
La gorra.
El cinturón.
El cinturón.
La blusa.
La blusa.
El vestido.
El vestido.
La ropa interior.
La ropa interior.
Los calcetines.
Los calcetines.
La camisa.
La camisa.
La corbata.
La corbata.
El polo.
El polo.
Los pantalones.
Los pantalones.
Los zapatos.
Los zapatos.
La chaqueta.
La chaqueta.
Muy bien. Ahí está todo. So I'll work on getting the